I don't know what to say about this team. Again, I've called them all year an enigma. Like, this team is just inexplicable. And tonight was one of those games where you just look at it from both teams, by the way, the Chargers and the Eagles, and kudos to the Chargers, number one. They went out and got that football game in a grinded out game. And Herbert's a tough dude, tough quarterback. That's a tough football team. And they went out and got that game. This Eagles team is just disjointed, discombobulated, inconsistent. I mean, this is just the complete opposite of what they were last year. I mean, geez. We'll get into Jalen Hurts, right? Because obviously he had the big, awful night in terms of 5 turnovers and all that stuff. The coaching staff did not coach a good game tonight. I thought they had a really bad feel at times. The defense, while it played excellent tonight, they left like 8 sacks on the board. Like, they had 7 sacks on the night. They could have had like 12. They could have had like 13. But man, oh man, just 10 months ago, we were hoisting a Lombardi trophy. The quarterback of the football team was Super Bowl MVP. And now we're looking at this, and now the questions are roaming around, again, amongst Eagle fans. Now, I don't think it'll ever happen this year, but the questions are being asked, do you bench Jalen Hurts? And tonight was a night where you look at it and you can't justify saying, no, you can't bench the guy, because tonight was awful. Now, not everything was his fault tonight, but a majority of it was. I'm going to talk about the positives in this game and the positive actually out of the 5 interception game. I know that sounds odd, but I'm going to try to explain myself in just a moment. But man, oh man, this is just not good. You started off the season 4-0, and you've gone 4-5 in the last 9 games. You started off the season 8-2 with wins against the Chiefs, the Rams, the Bucks, the Lions, the Packers, the Cowboys. And now you have lost 3 straight games in a row against the Bears, the Chargers, the Cowboys. If that's not starting to look like a collapse, I don't know what a collapse looks like. Now, despite the fact that we're on the downtrend here, the NFL as a league has no big juggernaut other than the Rams. And outside of the Rams in the NFC, and maybe the Packers, I'll give the Packers, and you know what? We got to give respect to the Bears. But again, I don't think anybody in that locker room per se is scared of any of those teams. Any one of those other teams could have a game where they just fumbled the bag. But how can I say that when I am the fan of a Philadelphia Eagles football team? It is just really, really a bad look for this football team. It's just not good. And again, I'll talk about some of the good things that come from this game, but we're going to dive into some of the bad, obviously, and we'll talk about the breakdown of this game and why this offense and this team will just not do anything other than a first-round exit, probably. in just a moment. But before I get into all of that, let's introduce you to the show. This right here is the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. I'm your host, Asif Badi, and like you, I am a Birds fan who talks about the birds, only the birds, and nothing but the Philadelphia Eagles. So please do us a favor here. Help us grow this channel organically by shooting this video a thumbs up, commenting your thoughts in the comment section below, and subscribing to the channel. Also, check us out on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave a 5-star review, because in the end, it doesn't cost you a damn thing to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And Lord knows, we appreciate your support on the opposite side of the camera, on the opposite side of the airways, if you go ahead and do that. So we thank you very much for that. All right. Obviously, the bad is the 5 turnovers, the 2 turnovers in one play, the missed field goal opportunity, the fact that this football team just cannot seem to understand situations in regards to managing the game. Missed tackles on defense, missed opportunities in terms of catching the ball. Poor decision-making by the quarterback. It was one of the worst football games I've ever seen. I mean, it was god-awful. It was so bad. My brother, we had him on the last year, and he was excellent, by the way. He's a Charger fan. Me and him are texting back and forth. We're like, this is some of the worst football we've ever seen. Both our teams are so bad at football. I mean, I don't get how you have that many turnovers in a game and it's that close to the end. They had like 6 offensive linemen out, and Justin Herbert kept escaping sack after sack after sack after sack. I mean, despite the fact that they got him down like 7-8 times, the Philadelphia Eagles defense left like 8 sacks on the board in this game. And I know the defense basically held them to 22 points, and they were the only reason they were in this ball game. So I don't want to kill the defense so much. But man, oh man, the constant theme of this football team is that their inability to stop the run and a mobile quarterback, their inability to finish sacks is evident. They can't force teams to turn the ball over outside of like, you know, a few freakish. I mean, it is just so reliant, this football team, on the defense to constantly make plays when that is just not a realistic ask week to week. So I'm not going to kill the defense in this game because I thought they played tremendous and they were all over this quarterback in Los Angeles. The offense, however, is just some of the most inexplicable things I've ever seen. I mean, we can't get anything right. Throwing the ball. Yeah, we had the big run for Saquon Barkley, but this team is just has no ability to get over any snafu that happens during a drive. The second something goes wrong, whether it's a holding call, a dropped pass, a loss of yardage, if the drive doesn't go perfectly, they cannot get anything going. And that is a reflection of not only the coaching staff, because I've been critical of them all year, but damn, the quarterback. What the hell was that? I get it. It's a really good defense in Los Angeles with Jesse Minter and Jim Harbaugh. I get it. But my goodness, you cannot have 5 turnovers in that game. You just can't. And again, I am not somebody who is sitting here suggesting to bench Jalen Hurts. I don't think you do that because just 10 months ago, he was hoisting a Lombardi trophy for this city and was named Super Bowl MVP. Okay, despite the fact that the defense was excellent and the running game got in there, I get it. But he was the trigger man, okay? And in big moments, he usually comes up and plays big. Tonight was awful. This season has been not great. And for the guy that last season wanted to have more accountability, well, you know what? Ask and you shall receive. Jalen Hurts, what in the hell was that offensive display? What in the hell is this passing attack since the beginning of the year? I've been a supporter of you all season long. You have not played well. And again, you probably are not going to play well this season because this is just who they are, by the way. As Philadelphia Eagle fans, we need to come to accept the terms of this is who they are for the 2025 season. They don't know as an organization. They don't know as a football team. They don't know as individuals how to play with success. They always have to be counted out. They always have to be the team that nobody expects. Because God forbid, I shouldn't use that term. My apologies, Dad. My apologies, Mom, for using that. If this team is in any remote position where they have the high ground, where they are the favorite, not the underdog, they have no idea how to operate. They don't. Only when they are the underdog. Only when they're not being expected to play. Only when they are believed to be counted out does this team show up to play. And quite frankly, that's the attitude of a frontrunner. This football team is a bunch of frontrunners. It's reflected in their youth. It's reflected in the head coach. And quite frankly, it's reflected in the way the offense operates. And that falls on the shoulders of the quarterback. Whenever there's any level of adversity, this team does not know how to sustain itself. And the adversity has come by the arm of the quarterback, at least tonight. And listen, I'll pivot here and say this is where the positivity comes in, because I know you guys are looking at this and saying this is an epic disaster. I mean, you started off 8-2, you lost 3 straight. Now you got the Raiders, which everyone believes is going to be a layup. But you know what? With this football team, you can't assume a damn thing. You just can't. You got to take this week to week. And the positive that I would say to come out of this game and potentially future games from here till the offseason is clarity. You get to have clarity. I get to have clarity. Everybody who's rooted for Jalen Hurts, who's rooted for Sirianni, or who has been a hater against Jalen, or who hates Sirianni, gets clarity. I personally want to see them continue play the way that they played in terms of being aggressive with throwing the ball tonight. I know you're going to think that sounds like a crazy thought. Why on earth would you go ahead and ask for that? And I'll tell you why. Because then it answers the question of whether or not the problems on this football team in general are of the quarterback or of the coach. Everybody all season long, including me, has been blaming coaching staff for the misfortunes of the offense, for the inconsistencies of the offense. The quarterback's got to shoulder some burden here, and he has not played well, and I've been more critical of him week after week after week. Now, I remind you, I am not calling for the man to be benched. All I'm saying is what I've been saying all year. Don't put the guy in handcuffs and expect him to do something extraordinary. This whole week, this Philadelphia Eagles football team was going into the Chargers game with a different energy, with a different vibe, with a little bit more freedom, a little bit more positivity. So much so that Nick Sirianni got involved in the game plan this week. Took more ownership of the offensive meetings. And this week, they asked Jalen Hurts, hey, go out there and let it rip. And that's exactly what I wanted as a football team. Let him go ahead and prove whether or not he can go out there and make the throw or whether or not he can't. Tonight, he showed he was not able to do it. I would say, as an Eagles fan, from this point until the end of this season, let him operate the offense in full capacity. Let him prove he could go out there and make the throws he needs to make. I am okay with the aggressiveness because tonight I actually felt it, and it looked to my eye. The offense played relatively free. Now, it was awful. Wasn't very good, but there was a freedom to the offense. Now, there were dropped passes, there were missed throws, there were bad decisions, there were bad coaching decisions, there were bad play calls, poor execution, all the above. But there was a freedom that came from it. And maybe that's what the team needed. Just to be able to get the freaking monkey off their back. Just let loose. Get all the bullshit out. Think of it as a kombucha. Think of it as a laxative. Think of it as a way to flush out the system. Get all the bullshit out. My goodness, I could not stomach that game, which is why I have the kombucha. It's a good drink. Anyway, get it all out of your system. Let Jalen Hurts operate the offense the way he did tonight in terms of being able to throw the ball aggressively, letting him just chuck the ball around the field because, quite frankly, it'll answer a couple of questions for you. It'll answer whether or not Nick Sirianni has been right all along and he's the right man for the job, or did you make a mistake by paying Jalen Hurts and you probably have to consider a different direction at some point, or a different coach, or a different play caller at some point? Evidently, what they've been doing has not been working. It's deteriorated the core of this team, and the scapegoats that it's going to make out to be are guys like A.J. Brown, guys like Kevin Patullo, guys like, the vocal mouthpieces that have been this team over the past few years, such as Chauncey Gardner-Johnson the past few years. Brandon Graham was a guy who was talkative and didn't, there are a lot of examples which we will talk about in future episodes of how this team operates. But the positive thinking, the clarity that I am seeking here, let him throw, despite how bad it was tonight, let him go out there and rip it. Let him go out there and prove to you he is more this guy or he's more the guy that we have seen in Super Bowls. Let him prove more to you that he is this guy more so than the guy that we saw against the Giants and the guy that we saw against the Vikings. Let him go out there and prove to you that if you put the ball in his hands more often than not, he will win you games or he will lose you games like he did tonight. Because if you do that, you get clarity early on, and you won't be in a situation like you were with Carson Wentz. You won't be in a situation like Seattle was with Russell Wilson. Get the clarity now. Get it out in the open. Let him show he either stinks and he can't do it, or all he needed was more reps. I think if you let that be the guide for the rest of the season, because you're not winning a Super Bowl this year. You're definitely not. You're not good enough as a football team to go out there and win the Super Bowl. And I know the rest of the NFC and rest of the NFL aren't juggernauts, but we can't sit here and suggest that they're going to be able to go on the road in the playoffs or to be able to win 3 straight games. We just can't. Not the way that they're playing. So my opinion is go get the clarity. Get the answers to your question. Get the answer of whether or not it's Sirianni's fault that the quarterback has regressed, or it's the fact that the quarterback himself is lazy and has not been able to adjust his game, or he doesn't have the ability to go out and throw the ball, or he's afraid to take running shots. Get the clarity. And I know people are going to say, we already know he stinks. Bench him for Tanner McGee. And then there are going to be other people who say, Kevin Patullo is awful and Nick Sirianni is awful. Now, I happen to think that both can be true. Jalen Hurts has been awful. Nick Sirianni hasn't been great. Kevin Patullo hasn't been great. But damn it, you can't sit here and justify what you saw. So it's definitely a bad look. But again, in the last episode, I said that the Chargers would win the game. I didn't feel good about the Eagles in this ball game, and quite frankly, it lived up to the expectation that I thought. So again, this is going to be tape that they either chuck and throw away and address nothing, or it's just going to be more of the same going forward, because regardless of what it is, it's week 14. You're not changing much on this football team. You're not changing who you are. You're not changing the quarterback. You're not changing anything in regards to this football team. So you just have to ride it out. And I guess the question is, will this team ride it out with Jalen Hurts at some point, or will they make him ride the bench? Pun fully intended.
Hey, thank you so much for watching the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast. If you want to continue to support the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Riding the Bench Eagles Pod. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, we're on there. Thank you so much for listening, and please join us next time here at the Riding the Bench Eagles podcast.